You've been a while. Yeah, well, you know how it is. Custody sergeants don't really like to be hurried, do they? Just formalities, fingerprints, chart sheet, and I've got to be in magistrate's court on Tuesday. What? Me, Sherlock, in court on Tuesday? They're giving me an ASBO. Good, fine. Hello YouTube, Film Buff 06 here. Since I've already reviewed The Great Game on this channel as part of Sherlock Week on Who Addicts Reviews, as you might remember, I just thought I'd finally get the rest of Sherlock Series 1 over and done with, starting with a review for the second episode, The Blind Banker, which was initially broadcast on BBC One on the 1st of August 2010, was directed by Euros Lynn, was based off of the short stories The Adventure of the Dancing Men and The Valley of Fear, as well as The Sign of the Four, and was written by Stephen Thompson. The plot of this episode is that Sherlock Holmes, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and Dr. John Watson, played by Martin Freeman, are sent in to investigate a series of mysterious ciphers that somehow represent an ancient Chinese numerical system that have been spray painted by a group of Chinese assassins who have marked former members of their covert smuggling ring for death in order to retrieve a mysterious item that one of them stole years ago. That is it, really. Now, what did I think of Sherlock, the Blind Banker? What are my thoughts on this episode? Well, it is a pretty good episode. I mean, it is watchable. However, if you compare this episode to A Study in Pink, the episode that came before it, of course, and subsequent episodes that came after that, after this, like The Great Game and The Reichenbach Fall, The Blind Banker is definitely not only the weakest episode of Series 1, but also the weakest episode of the show in general to date. And I think that is an opinion that most Sherlock fans will agree with me on. Let's start with the things I liked about this episode. Euros Lynn does a great job directing this episode. The music by Michael Price is, as always, brilliant, and the locations like Chinatown and Trafalgar Square are simply very nice, really, to look at. Also, the two lead performances from Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are, as always, very entertaining to watch, with Freeman especially having the opportunity to flex his comedic muscles. For example, when he has a row at either Asda's or Morrison's with a chip and pin machine, and even when he gets caught by the police for falsely possessing some spray paint after he and Sherlock try to interrogate this Banksy type street artist. Those two moments were just hilarious. Plus the ending, without possibly giving away any spoilers, sort of brilliantly sets up what is to come in the next episode, The Great Game, what with the forthcoming appearance of Jim Moriarty himself. Now, on to the things I did not like about The Blind Banker. Stephen Thompson's script to this episode is a bit of an awkward and cliched mess, to be quite frank. Most of the characters are really just plain forgettable and are not really as interesting as they otherwise could have been. I mean, in particular, one character that is played by Gemma Chan, who most Doctor Who fans might know from her appearance in Waters of Mars. The supporting performances aren't really that great. I mean, especially the actor who portrays the DI substituting Lestrade. I think his name was Dimmock. The guy who portrays D.I. Dimmock, who, believe it or not, portrayed Eugenie Jones from Torchwood. He especially is just annoying, and in my opinion is just not as memorable as Lestrade. The editing of this episode is also kind of a mixed bag, if that makes any sense. The story also had so much potential going for it, but as it is, it's just disappointingly boring, and it feels like 60 minutes of story material dragged out to just over 90 minutes, which kind of lets the episode down, really. The pacing of the episode is quite disappointingly problematic and occasionally sluggish. The climax is also quite weak and feels like it came out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, especially when it features Watson being mistaken for Sherlock Holmes, which in my honest opinion was just there to set up like this contrived this scenario of a contrived misunderstanding, if that makes any sense at all. And also features this stupidly overcomplicated death trap that looks like a giant crossbow shaped like a Chinese dragon. I mean, I just couldn't help but feel reminded at this moment of you know, the iconic scene from Goldfinger when Bond is strapped to the table and is about to be cut in half by the laser. Also the villain, General Shan, terrible name by the way, was just generic and wasn't all that interesting of a villain, really. I don't really have anything else that much to say about this episode, other than if you are a massive Sherlock fan like myself, I would totally recommend that you go and check this episode out, but with some slight reservations. It is watchable and enjoyable at times, but in the end you might feel a bit, you know, underwhelmed as I was while watching this episode, and also getting the sense that it is a good episode, but it could have been done better. My overall rating for Sherlock the Blind Banker, it's going to be a 6 out of 10. Now, feel free to leave a comment in the section below and let me know your thoughts on the Blind Banker. Plus, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And until my next video, in which of course I'm going to be reviewing episode 1 of Sherlock Series 1, A Study in Pink, do take care everyone, and goodbye.